Hey guys, so if you're anything like me, then you definitely collect crafts, hobbies, and supplies like nobody's business, and then you sometimes forget to actually use those supplies. So this year, I'm challenging myself to make things with what I actually have. So, to keep myself honest and to keep it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to be writing down a bunch of different crafts and things that I can make, putting them on popsicle sticks, throwing them in a jar, and whatever I pull out that day when I'm feeling crafty, that is what I'm gonna challenge myself to make. Also, it's gonna be maximum creativity, minimal buying. If I'm being honest, I probably have about 90% of the supplies to make any given craft at any given moment. So I'm also gonna try not to buy too many extra things if I can help it. But yeah, let's pick a stick and get crafting. And this week's craft is gonna be air dry clay. I'm actually really glad that air dye clay ended up being my first pick because I somehow own two different kinds that I've never used before. I have this one, the DAS brand, and then a Crayola one that is still sealed in a big tub. So I decided to go with this brand first just because it came in a smaller package. I didn't feel like cracking open a huge fresh tub just yet since I don't know what I'm doing. Also, I picked up this air dry clay kit, and honestly, I think it had everything I needed: sculpting tools, a sponge, even a brush, and a glaze for the finish. So I just kind of looked through it to see what I could use and what made sense. Now, if you know me, you know I'm into plants, okay? So for this project, I wanted to keep it simple but also plant inspired because, yeah, that's just what I'm into. So I looked up a ton of beginner friendly air dry clay ideas on Pinterest, and Tic-Tac-Toe, for whatever reason, just kept coming up over and over and over again. So that is what I decided to do. This is me just feeling like I'm on a roll over here, but then I realized I made it way too small, so I ended up starting over, which honestly feels very on brand. So I just scrapped that whole thing and made it just slightly bigger and wider. That way I wouldn't have to sculpt such tiny pieces for the playing pieces. For sure, one thing that I wish I had and might get in the future if I continue to do air dry clay activities is a proper rolling pin. I don't show it here for whatever reason, but I was using the glaze bottle that you saw, it's kind of off to the right now, as my rolling pin, and it was not the best thing to do because it just made everything a little bumpy and definitely wonky. So investing in a good rolling pin, just or even like a cheap one, just something to make things even and flat, I think that'll go a long way. My original plan was, as you can see, a leaf-shaped tray, but the pieces, so the X's and the O's, I was going to replace with leaves and then tiny terracotta planters. But I just could not for the life of me get the shape right. The sculpting didn't look right, everything was too uneven, and I don't know, it was bothering me. So I scrapped that idea, pivoted, and I went with ladybugs instead since I saw a lot of people using those as the O's, I guess, and the leaves as X's. I thought it would still look good, so that is what I ended up going with. This is about a day later, and everything was fully dry and ready to move on to the next step, which, as you can tell by all these rough edges, is going to be some sanding. And I didn't grab anything fancy. I had this on hand, again, just a bunch of stuff in my house already. So these, I think, are from Dollar Tree. It comes in a giant pack, some really thin sanding papers, and I just smoothed away and kept smoothing until I felt like things were a little bit more even. I was really focusing also on each playing piece being flat. So like when you laid it down, I didn't want it to be wobbly. And my handy dandy little vacuum here just sucks up all the dust. Loved it. I wanted to prime it, which I don't know, on camera seems like what's the point because they're already white, but I did go in with a white acrylic paint just over every piece, one coat. Honestly, I thought that would be enough.
But my goodness, green paint and I have trust issues, like literal trust issues. It never dries the color that I expect it to dry. So after my last project on this channel, I learned the hard way that it almost never dries the same, and it's usually darker or honestly just completely a different shade. So this time I pulled out every green I owned, mixed as I went, and basically hoped for the best. And I also ended up mixing more when it didn't feel right or when I wanted a little bit more contrast. Painting the tiny pieces was not it. So I grabbed my acrylic markers, and that was way easier, especially for the ladybugs that had multiple colors going on.
Alright, so here's what I have so far. I have the tray, painted it with that one dark coat, so it definitely is going to need at least a second, maybe a third coat. I'm also trying to decide if I even like this shade of green. This might be a little bit too dark for my liking, but we'll see. I am going to do a second coat, which I know is just going to make it darker, but anyway, I will get back to that when the time comes. Next, I have some little paint mixed here. This is what I used to paint the leaves. I've already gone ahead and painted the back of them, as you can see. And I am trying, oops, that got a little stuck together, but I am trying to do like different shades, which is why it looks the way it does. I want the leaves to have a little bit of variation in them so they're not one solid green color. And then, so far, this is what I've got for the ladybugs. Super cute. I did just kind of repeat the pattern on the back so they are, you know, either way you use them, they'll work. The leaves I've only indented once, so the back is flat. I don't really think it matters too much, but here is what I am trying to make sure it doesn't happen. I don't want when you place a leaf down for it to kind of get lost, since this is also green. So this might either stay the same color and this might change a bit because I really want it to pop, or what I think I might do in general for this leaf is I might do like the veining, you know, that leaves have, just to give it some dimension as well. All right, everything is nice and dry. The back looks good. The front, however, I hate it. Honestly, I got carried away with the veining. I should have just stopped at the central line and then, you know, the regular branching out. These secondary tiny ones, I thought I was cooking because I looked at real leaves and they do have, you know, tiny little branches that come out like this. If you look at a leaf close up, it doesn't just have like one line, usually anyway. It does look like this. It's just that mine's look a little bit too accentuated and it's giving lungs or like a tree. I don't know. Not really what I was going for. So as much as I absolutely hate waiting for paint to dry, I am going to repaint this and probably have to do the veining one more time. But I'm going to keep it simple. Like I said, I'm just going to do that one line down the middle and then a couple of long branches, more like this. Kind of like this leaf, so it just has that one line down the middle and then, you know, the little branches off to the side and nothing extra.
I was going to get into resin stuff one day, and I have this kit, really cool, has everything you need, even the lamp. But apparently, air dry clay can crack if you go in with resin right away without sealing it. So I decided to go back to the other kit, the ones with the tools, and use the glaze first, just to seal it in because it's very porous, and hopefully this would be a good layer before the resin.
right, here it is, final reveal. Honestly, for me, never having used this stuff, I'm impressed. Like the air dry clay, that was new to me, and so was the glaze and everything. So I am happy. I'm happy with these results. Speaking of the glaze, this stuff is amazing. Honestly, I was gonna go in and do the UV resin and the lamp, which also would be new to me, but I mean, I don't think I need to. This stuff is so shiny. It literally looks wet and it's like rock hard. Ignore that. So I really don't think that I need to do the UV resin at all, at least not for this project. So I will obviously be saving it for something else. But yeah, I am really, really excited with how this turned out. The glaze literally made it feel like plastic. Like this feels like a plastic mold or something. I don't even know how to describe that, but it is so, so shiny. Obviously, there's room for improvement. I can get better at smoothing things out and, you know, perfecting it before it dries. But like I said, for a first time project, I'm not mad. Plus, it's really cute and planty, and that fits with my whole vibe, so I'm happy with it. Alrighty guys, that is it for today's Pick a Craft, Pick a Stick. I'm still workshopping the name, so if you have any suggestions on a better name for that, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. This felt really good because I finally got to use more of my supplies. Speaking of, if you have any suggestions on what else I can make, leave it in the comments below. I'll add it to a stick and I'll make it at some point. And as always, if you enjoyed and you want to see what I make next, hit like and subscribe and the notification bell so you get notified on my next video. And I'll see you in that one. Bye!